sucking.
Hey, Alex, I'd like to buy a vowel. We're the misfits of which you've run afoul. I double dare you to press your luck with us and our crew. Let's make a deal or no deal, you brought this family feud.
Please forgive the vitriol, because we get a bit bombastic when it comes to Jeopardy. Well, I prefer Dan Patrick. Call us losers, then backtrack it like you didn't really mean it on a show that's made for geeks. So what you think, we wouldn't see it?
Yo, Alex, grab at you, best check your neck. You got no respect for the nerdcore set. While we don't forget, we've been known to forgive. So if you you've left, we might let you live.
Oh, let's go!
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution. This isn't a rap, so it doesn't sound very good when I read it in this meter, but you can watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, whatever device you choose. I'm Tom Barrett.
Bass drop. Yeah, man, that was, by the way, I'm Brian Brushwood. That was a collection of nerdcore rap artists' response to Alex Trebek's unfortunate accidental dissing of an entire category of music. Somebody was on Jeopardy trying to explain what nerdcore was, and she got overly wordy, and it just, at some point, Alex Trebek goes, so, losers, huh? and he goes, oh, I kid. And it's like, and I'm sure the moment he said it, he was like, ooh, that wasn't what I wanted to express. But that was the funny part, is the response diss rap video from the nerdcore group was astonishingly polite. And it was great to see so many familiar faces that we've had on previous incarnations of Night Attack.
Like, you didn't even hear Dual Core.
Yep.
MC Lars is in there.
MC
like
Frontalot and
Mega Rand.
Samus.
Like, it's a who's who.
Yeah, it really was. And very, very well done. And you could tell it was all done like at the last minute, because it was clear that whatever email went around, they were like, just use your phone or your webcam. It doesn't matter. Let's just get
whatever
it right away.
is close by.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, we are going to have an abbreviated Cordkillers this week, partly because of the news, partly because we are going to be doing the winter movie draft this evening on our evening of recording. But that doesn't mean we're going to shortchange you anything. We are once again using our ultimate compression algorithm to bring you probably an hour and a half worth of podcasting entertainment into a smaller amount of time, starting with the primary target. So data from the Deutsche Bank studies comparing subscription rates for U.S. cable networks between 2011 and 2015 finds, probably unsurprisingly if you really think about it, the biggest drop in cable subscriptions in the United States comes from the Weather Channel, down 12 million subscribers over that period. Verizon Fios, for instance, has stopped carrying it at all. If you're a Verizon Fios TV subscriber, you just can't get the Weather Channel. And that one is the least surprising, Brian, because I think we all know, like, yeah, we kind of use our phones for that these days.
Yeah, well, and plus, if you look at this graph here, it says subscriber losses in millions. Weather Channel is hardest hit by almost a factor of 100%. I mean, it's almost twice as, I don't know, it looks like 70% higher than Spike TV, ESPN, MTV, ESPN2, VH1. If you think about it, all of these hard hit networks, I'm sure some of it has to do with, they're having a drought of programming or whatever, but Weather Channel makes the most sense because nobody goes to the Weather Channel because they want to see a guy or a girl talking about the weather. They go because they want one thing. They want to know, do I take a raincoat today? And it turns out that turning on your television, tuning to a channel, waiting until somebody says something is a very inefficient way to find out whether or not you need to take your raincoat.
And, the thing is, I use the Weather Channel all the time, every day, on my Android tablet, on my iPhone. I just don't ever think about it as a TV channel anymore. So in that sense, and it's a little complicated to say this because NBC owns the Weather Channel that's on TV, and IBM actually owns the Weather Channel data and powers the app. But essentially, this is a channel that has made the jump from like, hey, guess what? Television wasn't the best milieu for this. We found a better one with the internet. Who do you think is number 2, though, folks? Would you be shocked if I told you it was Spike TV?
I gotta feel like that's unrelated to the cord cutting revolution. That just seems like can you name any outstanding programming you've run across on Spike recently or have heard buzz
that
about?
James Bond marathon they had several years ago sure was fun.
Man, wait, is Spike TV even still around? I thought it was Esquire now.
No, you're thinking of G4.
I
G4
don't remember
became
which
Esquire.
one.
That's right.
Yeah,
There
no,
was
it was
talk.
It was Fine Network. Basically.
Yeah, that's right. There was talk that they would buy Spike,
Yeah.
but then they ended up buying G4 instead. That's right.
Here's one for you. You may have heard of this little network, even though it's declining in subscribers. ESPN, number 3 on this chart.
Yeah, I that one is a little shocking, but again, all of these are lockstep. I mean, they're all practically within a rounding error of each other, except for the Weather Channel.
Yeah, and number 4 is MTV, ESPN2, number 5. When you get to those, it starts to appear to me very clear that if ESPN is declining in subscribers, it's because cable is declining in subscribers, because ESPN is the canary in the coal mine here. It is on almost every package you can buy. Yeah. And so it's actually hard not to get ESPN. And so that just kind of goes with that. But yeah, I mean, we are definitely seeing a problem for broadcast networks who don't go out and find another way to supplement their subscribers with some sort of over-the-top situation.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all of these. For all of these, I could think of for every. And by the way, the full list is Weather Channel, Spike TV, ESPN, MTV, ESPN2, VH1, Nickelodeon / Nick at Night, the TV Guide Network, Golf Channel, and CMT. I'm going to say, with the exception of Spike TV, and maybe Nickelodeon Nick at Night, every one of these that's heavily hit is something that I don't go for the actual programs there. I would only go to find out the information that's there. I want to know who won the game. I want to see the game. And you can get that now from other websites. You want to know about the weather, just go to ironically, the Weather Channel's website. Weather.com is fantastic.
Yeah, and this doesn't work for all sports, but with baseball, which is something that I care about, a lot of times the game that is on ESPN is also available to me on MLB.TV, granted with different announcers. But, if the Cardinals are playing on a Wednesday night on ESPN, I'm going to go to MLB.TV and watch it there and get my local announcers from St. Louis rather than listen to the ESPN announcers. Now, that's not always the case with baseball, and it's not always the case. Sunday Night Baseball is never available that way, and it's not always the case with every sport, but there's even whittling at the edges there.
So try this on for size. The one thing that's the curious case is that Nickelodeon / Nick at Night, because if the channel itself is one of the biggest losers with the cord cutting revolution, and yet the material that they create, the original programming, SpongeBob, Bob SquarePants, Avatar, the Last Airbender, and Legend of Korra, those are all Nickelodeon originals, and my kids watch the hell out of those on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, and so on. So it makes me wonder if we need to recognize that these companies are performing essentially two different company duties. There's one, I said duty. There's one that is the channel aspect, and there's the other of the content producer. Obviously, the content on the Weather Channel is fantastic for what it is. I still go to the website and check it out. Obviously, the content of ESPN, the actual games themselves is fantastic regardless. It just seems like they're going to have to de-emphasize the channel aspect and instead focus on the ownership and distribution of the content.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing it shows is, hey, everybody's going to be declining if you're only relying on cable subscriptions.
Yeah.
All right. Do you know who I admire the most right now at this very moment, Brian Brushwood?
Is it the 1,806 people currently supporting us over at patreon.com, keeping us loud, live, and independent?
It's one of them, John Pinkerton.
Oh, just the one guy?
Yeah. You know why?
Why?
John Pinkerton just yesterday quadrupled his backing of Cordkillers.
Oh my God! Did he go from $0.25 to $1?
He did. He went from $0.25 to $1.
Yeah, man. That's look. $1 is the new quarter. If you guys have been in it a little, here's the thing: a lot of you guys have contributed $0.25 an episode, and you've noticed that you've never once noticed it at the end of the month. You've never had to turn off your electricity. You know what? It's 4 times as exciting if you go to $1 an episode. If we all go to $1 an episode, then I don't know, we'll have a class reunion sometime.
Yeah. We'll have the quarter century reunion. Be like John Pinkerton, or be like Richard Hartnett. He just jumped in. Richard Hartnett did as a brand new supporter. So those of you who've never backed us, now's your chance. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Dude, you get to be smug, superior, walking around knowing that you're in charge. You're somebody's boss. Be that guy, man.
Let's look at how to watch the stuff we want to watch. Hey, remember all those hot takes about the end of Netflix? Netflix just came out with their earnings report and rubbed all of our faces in them. They beat not only their own, but Wall Street's expectations for revenue and subscriber growth in Q3. We'll leave most of the revenue stuff to the financial networks. Suffice to say, revenue-wise, they did really well. They're still spending a lot of money on programming. Profits not as impressive, but growing. They added 3.2 million international subscribers and 370,000 domestic subscribers. The forecast was a total of 2.3 million. So they beat that by more than a million. Total subs for Netflix, by the way, on the rise compared to all those networks we were just talking about in the last segment at $86.7 million. They now project they will add 5 million accounts worldwide next quarter because of the holiday season. And here's what they said, Brian. Our overperformance against forecast was driven primarily by stronger than expected acquisition due to excitement around Netflix's original content.
That is astonishing. Man, did they make the right play on that on that part. We're looking at the TechCrunch article, and if you look at it, they have kind of they sort of tag on in the first graph, Bryce, the estimates. And if you picture that last bar being where things were headed, that's still an upward trend, but instead they crush it, in which case it doesn't look like there's any slowdown. It doesn't look like there's any leveling off. We have a practically perfectly linear growth curve that we're looking at.
Yeah, and last quarter, the doom and gloom was around the fact that subscriber growth was slowing so bad because they had just started to upgrade people to the new, more expensive plans. All the grandfathered in people were starting to have to pay the higher price, and folks were saying, well, this is the end. People don't want to pay that much for Netflix. Well, now this quarter, they're about 75% through that grandfathered list, and subscribership is bouncing back up. So it looks like that was a temporary blip anyway.
Well, this is the beautiful thing, is that much like those networks that are being hurt by cord cutting right now, they're an institution that you get to something else. For example, you don't go to the weather for the weather or weather channel for the weather channel. You go there because you want to learn about the weather. So they guide you over there. For a long time, Netflix was the conduit by which you watched recently, movies hitting the cable circuit or whatever. But that's not the case. You go to Netflix for Netflix now. And I have gotten to a place where I totally trust them. Just like I know there's a certain standard of quality I can expect from anything that shows up on HBO, I now feel the same way about Netflix originals.
Now, interestingly, Swamp Rat said something in our chat that I think is representative of a lot of people. He said until they restock classic TV shows, and he also has a problem with them shrinking closing credits. But the TV shows is the part I'm talking about. Until they restock classic TV shows, I won't think about getting Netflix back. This is something that there is a bit of a debate over out there. Streaming Observer at streamingobserver.com did a little investigation and reports that Netflix now has 31 of the top 250 movies on IMDb. And we're not making a comment on how great IMDb is rating movies, but they're saying, hey, those are generally good movies in that top 250 list. So it's a good list to look at and say, how many good movies do they have? Compared to Clayton Frisbee, who did a list on Reddit 2 years ago when Netflix had 49 of those top 250 movies. Does that bother you, Brian? Because it obviously bothers some people that they don't have as many of the classic TV shows. They don't have as many of the top movies as they used to.
It doesn't bother me personally, but I understand where they're coming from. Netflix spent decades, or a decade, building their brand as the place for high quality first run home theater in movie entertainment. And they are moving away from that. And if this Wall Street earnings report isn't, in neon lights spelling out the fact that it's like people are sticking with us because of our originals, they're only going to move farther into originals, which on the one hand, you could say, oh, boo-hoo, it used to be I could watch all my favorite movies on there. But now you could say, hooray, if you want to get into this business, this is an emerging opportunity. Clearly, Netflix is giving up on a niche of the movie community that needs to be filled and that nobody's doing right now. So, yes, on the one hand, sure, I'd love it if all the best movies of all time were available on there. But I also know that I'll never get around to watching them. And if somebody else offered that service, then, good on them.
I think it's a classic situation where you have a network that started as one thing, say music television,
right?
and took a pivot and said, yeah, but this kind of programming we're really good at and it's better. Netflix is like, yeah, we used to be the place to watch old movies, and then we became the place to catch up on old TV shows, and now we're the place with hot originals, more than you have time to watch anymore. And so the people who were in it specifically for the old movies or the classic TV shows aren't going to be happy, but Netflix is making the gamble that there's more people who want their originals than will leave because they don't have the old stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, sir.
Finally, Dan Tate, COO of mobile video firm Panthera, told Light Reading that Netflix is actively working on offline viewing. Now, this isn't a rumor so much as it is, and it's not even an anonymous source. It's somebody who is like, saying, yeah, no, they're working on it because we've talked to them about it. Now, he's not authorized by Netflix to speak about it, so maybe he's misinterpreting something or saying something before it's ready, and maybe it's not exactly the message, but it sounds like at least Netflix is bandying about the idea.
Yeah, and it seems like I think it's fine for Netflix to be kind of, low emphasis back burnering this whole discussion, because it seems like priority one is get the world comfortable with the idea of streaming. Then, priority two, priority one is really get these studios comfortable with the idea of streaming, then make them feel safe. And then now, once the money is rolling in and it's been 2 or 3 years of making money, then it's just like, hey, by the way, there's a few people that would probably like your stuff even better if they let us download. We're pretty sure it will affect piracy in no way whatsoever. And then at that point, they're like, yeah, everything's fine. Do whatever you want. We don't care.
There was one project manager last quarter who panicked about the subscriber. Is like, you know what? I'm just gonna push through the offline viewing project, okay? Because just in case, that might boost our numbers a little bit, and now it's a project.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just making that up.
No. That sounds 100% right to me.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to what to watch. Because what good is this streaming stuff and all the gear if you don't have things to watch? Yes, we call it Under Surveillance. Amazon released its 8-episode Billy Bob Thornton drama Goliath from creators David R. Kelly and Jonathan Shapiro. You might know Shapiro from Picket Fences or The Practice. We worked on those. It's a procedural lawyer drama in a 90s style with a serialized story in the background. So it's getting some attention from people for being... By the way, I said serialized and my phone just activated. It's getting some attention for being a throwback to, hey, you know what? You don't have to watch every episode to understand what's going on. You actually could pop it in the middle, even though it's an Amazon show and you get all 8 episodes at once, and still get a beginning, middle, and end story. Yeah.
Okay. This is very novel, but I suspect it's the kind of thing where they do very well that which need not be done at all, because if you're on Amazon Prime, this would make sense. This would be very, very clever on the CW or whatever, but I don't know that this makes a lot of sense as a...
I wonder because I get what you're saying, you don't need to do this, you're on Amazon, for goodness sake. Is there a group out there who, with Stranger Things, the 80s feel, right? Or with The Get Down, liked that 70s blaxploitation feel? Is there someone out there who's like, yeah, man, but I just feel so comfortable watching this show because I love those kinds of shows from the 90s.
That's interesting. I always thought of procedural shows as dealing with a limitation less than as an aesthetic that people really resonated with. No, it could be. Maybe I'm wrong.
Here is a story that got us really excited until we realized we live in the United States for once. Netflix has acquired the rights to The Expanse.
What?
The television
I love
series
The Expanse.
Based on the books by James S.A. Corey. Yes, that's right. Netflix will show you The Expanse outside North America and New Zealand. Season 1 starts November 3rd.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is we've seen these kind of deals before. Remember Breaking Bad came to Netflix, I think, in the UK.
Currently happening with the new Star Trek series, right?
That's right. Star Trek Discovery will come to Netflix outside of the CBS All Access market and Canada, I think. But so the Netflix original, The Expanse, will be the original everywhere except here in the U.S. We'll get it on Sci-Fi Channel. I think it's on Space Channel in Canada, I want to guess, and whatever channel it's showing on in New Zealand. I'm unfamiliar with it there. You three lose out. Everybody else gets to watch it on Netflix. Monday at MIPCOM, YouTube Global Head of Content Suzanne Daniels announced 3 new YouTube original series coming to YouTube Red subscribers. These are the first big announcements since Suzanne Daniels moved over and took over YouTube Red. One will have The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, on a half-hour action series tentatively called Lifeline, where insurance agents are sent 33 days ahead of time to prevent accidental client deaths.
Wait. Am I hearing this right?
Yeah.
Is this a story about people with superpowers that instead of fighting crime decide to sell out their services as insurance? Sounds a little bit familiar. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. No, this is pretty much the plot of Brett Rounceville's book, The Provider.
But there's some time travel in here. I can't remember.
Whatever. Different superpowers, same story.
Also,
I'm just saying.
The Rock. Yeah. Doug Liman, who has done Born Identity, Edge of Tomorrow, will direct an hour-long series called Impulse. Hour-long episodes? Multiple episodes. Called Impulse, about a 16-year-old girl who discovers she can teleport.
That's cool.
And this is actually somewhat of a sequel to his own series Jumpers, which he did back in the early 2000s.
I'm in. And
then a scripted comedy called Game Grumps comes from Dan Harmon's Starburns Industries production company, following an imaginary esports team as they try to make it to the top.
Well, hold on. Is that affiliated with the Game Grumps?
I think it's starring Dan and Aaron of the Game Grumps, but this article makes it look like it's not titled that, is it?
I believe it's a scripted vehicle
featuring YouTube stars Dan Evident and Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps.
Yes.
Got it. So it's probably not titled Game Grumps then.
It is titled Game Grumps, as far as this article says.
Oh, really?
Oh,
weird.
Controversy erupts on Cordkillers.
It was a half hour. Oh, you know what? You're right.
Untitled
I read a
from
different
Dan Harmon's
article that said it was called Game Grumps, and Gadget said that. But now that I'm reading the Variety article that they cited, it says that Dan and Aaron from Game Grumps will be on a half-hour scripted comedy series. So it may not. You're right. You're right. Thank you.
By the way, now's a really good time, real quick. And this is related to the fact that we're watching Westworld. Michael Crichton was a very brilliant person. He was a doctor. He was a scientist. He wrote Jurassic Park and all that stuff. But he described an effect called the Murray-Gell-Mann effect. Murray-Gell-Mann was a famous and very important physicist, and he described how Murray-Gell-Mann would sit down, read an article about physics in the newspaper, and from beginning to end say, this is a garbage article. It got everything wrong. This person clearly doesn't know what they're talking about when it comes to physics. And then he'd turn to the next page and read about politics and be like, oh, so that happened. Like, just assume all... I just hit the set. That's how passionate I am about this. Just assume all there are errors in everything you read, and that it's only when it's close to you is when you notice them.
My whole job on Daily Tech News Show is to provide that service for people. Is to read the articles and say these are the things you need to pay attention to.
Right. Well, right.
So I did not do my job properly.
No.
And I apologize.
All right, Tom, what I was doing is called misdirection.
It's
misdirection. I was trying to divert attention away from that fact.
Meanwhile, YouTube is doing higher quality stars here, getting bigger quality director names. But it doesn't seem to be having any effect.
I don't understand why they keep chasing that dragon. And look, I understand. They haven't been chasing that dragon. They have not been getting bigger names. They have not been hiring on professional directors. This is the first time they're doing that. I'm not sure why you're saying chasing that dragon. No. Hold on. Maybe we're having
two different conversations.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about the whole 4 or 5 years ago when they were throwing around hundreds of millions of dollars.
They gave most of that money to mid-level people. They did not really give they did not go hire someone like Doug Liman. They did not book Dwayne Johnson.
Yes. Okay, fair enough.
I considered that and that was also like, hey, we don't know what we're doing. Let's just give some money to channels. Since then, all of the YouTube originals that they've created have been very firmly focused on YouTube stars. This is like a hybrid of that.
Yes, I agree. But I mean, I don't know. It's like basically they just lasted long enough to where all of a sudden YouTube is not a dirty word. All of a sudden YouTube doesn't mean pirated Viacom content. It means,
well, no,
you know,
I'd look at it entirely differently. If this Dwayne Johnson Lifeline show was on Amazon Prime, you wouldn't blink at it.
That's correct. I guess I'm not blinking at it now on YouTube Red. Like, to me, the moment YouTube Red, once I heard the conceit, I'm like, yeah, they're now entering the same club as Amazon Prime and Netflix. So I guess I'm surprised that you're surprised, because all of this seems like a natural evolution.
Let me tell you the backstory on my surprise. When they came out with their first lineup of shows from the Fine Brothers and PewDiePie, I was like, these are good. These are better produced shows than you would normally have from a creator on their own. They're not Netflix. They're not Amazon. They're not Hulu. And what they should be doing is going and getting top name directors, top name actors, at least this is my opinion, and doing shows like that level, and then using those as vehicles to take the stars that those kind of shows undervalue. But YouTube's like, yeah, but we know Grace Helbig is really good. She could totally fit in a like high level production. That to me seems to be what they're doing this time around.
Yeah, man. I guess I'll take your word for it. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other.
Maybe I have a stronger opinion because my wife works for you.
Oh, I knew you were going to work that in. Smooth.
Amazon will fund a new season of the German Cold War drama Deutschland 83. This second season will be called Deutschland 86 because it takes place in 1986.
How are we going to understand what happened during Deutschland's 84 and 85?
Yeah,
though?
The lost seasons. The first 8-episode season premiered in 2015 through European broadcaster RTL Group. It tracked an East German spy undercover in the West German army. The new Amazon season will take place, as I said, 3 years after the first season and happen outside of Germany in South Africa and places like that.
Right on.
Chris Rock's first comedy special in 8 years will be on Netflix. Multiple outlets report Netflix bid for the rights to 2 specials at $40 million.
Can I tell you what's so remarkable to me about this is less the fact that HBO would be willing to, or Netflix would be willing to pay $40 million. That part makes sense. But like, as somebody who wrote and toured with a number of stage shows, the idea of saying, I will accept your $40 million and I will write, rehearse, streamline, perform. Like, he doesn't know what they're going to be. They're not even formed yet, and he's taking the check. That is a remarkable thing, and I wish someday I could be in a position to do that.
And that isn't even the new part. I mean, that was happening with HBO and other networks and stuff. It's just that Netflix is not only getting into the game, but raising the stakes considerably with $40 million.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. And finally, Fox is making a movie about Ross Ulbricht. He's the founder of the underground online marketplace Silk Road. The movie will be called Dark Web, and Hollywood Reporter says the Coen brothers will write the screenplay based on the Wired series of articles about Ulbricht.
This could be huge. Did you read those Wired articles? They were great.
Yeah, no, they did an excellent job with that.
And they did a great job of what a great opportunity they have to create a villain that just doesn't understand how what he's doing is wrong. Where he's like, you have willing buyers, willing sellers. All I'm doing is connecting the two. And then I think that could be in ways that Breaking Bad could only aspire to be. I think there's a chance for us to find him and a sympathetic character. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they do. I would like them to direct too.
Yeah.
I guess they don't have to.
Are you kidding me? It'd be great.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we're watching. I have been keeping up on the CW superhero series. So Supergirl premiered, and I thought they did a great job. Didn't feel like it missed a beat. Brought in Superman. I know that Calista Flockhart has a lowered involvement this year, and her character didn't feel like it was going to have a lower involvement in this episode. So that transition looks like it's going to happen smoothly. The Flash is doing great in its second episode. I really am continuing to enjoy it. I'm surprisingly enjoying This Is Us. Maybe I've just finally gotten old, but I'm enjoying a primetime broadcast drama about families.
remind me what the conceit of This Is Us was again?
It's hard to explain without spoiling things, but going into the first episode, it's, hey, there's an overweight couple who's dealing with their issues and fitting in, and there's an actor who's having a hard time like dealing with his ethics, and then there's a black man who has a family and is finding who his real father is because he was adopted by a white family. That all sounds incredibly boring. The thing is, at the end, there's a big twist that makes you go, wait, those people and those, hold on. And then the second episode, there's another bunch of connections. It's just really well told.
Right on. Well, I'll ask no more questions for fear of accidentally learning.
That's
stuff.
actually the hardest part about that show is like to really convince you what's cool about it, you have to spoil the crap out of it.
Yep. Cool.
What have you been watching?
Of course, the usual suspects, Westworld and Justified. We'll talk about those in spoiler in time. But I don't mean this. I know my job is to watch Luke Cage. It's not entirely clear whether or not I'll be cheating on Bonnie if I go watching that, But the problem is we, Westworld started and we're just super into Westworld.
Yeah.
So I punted. And instead, I opened up Netflix and saw they had a new original called The Siege of Jadotville. Do you know about this movie?
That is one of the movies that the theater chain is showing up the street from me.
Great.
Yeah, that's one of the Netflix movies.
I liked it with a capital L. Not loved it, but liked it. I cannot name a single character in the whole thing because it's really about this whole troupe finding them of Irish soldiers finding themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time in history, and all of a sudden there's like an Alamo type situation where they're facing insurmountable odds and they're not getting the backup they need, and it ends on a surprising note. There was a brief moment that I realized, oh wait, this is based on a true story. Maybe they all die. I'm real curious. How does this go? And I enjoyed it quite a bit. Worth watching.
All right, Bryce, what have you been on the lookout for?
Hey, we got a letter from Marcus, who wanted to tell us about Black Sails. He writes, "Hey guys, as a longtime viewer and one of your bosses, I feel it is my duty to recommend an outstanding TV show that didn't get the attention that it deserves. The show is called Black Sails on Stars. If you like pirates, swashbuckling, high seas, pirate ship battles, a very compelling story, and high production value, this is the show for you. Make no mistake, this is not Pirates of the Caribbean and is intended for adults only. Since I know you guys have a ton of content to watch, I decided to put my money where my mouth is and give you my personal guarantee. If one or both of you watch 2 episodes and decide not to continue watching because you didn't enjoy it, I will refund both of you for those purchased episodes in additional donations to the show. Love the show, guys. Now go watch some Black Sails. Marcus from Sacramento, California."
See, that's not fair. The boss can't do that. We can't go to the boss and say, give me even more of your money.
Well, he did. Black Sails is available on Stars, and you can sign up for Stars via Amazon if you choose to do that. There are 3 seasons available right now, and next year is going to be the show's final season, so it's not a bad time to get in.
All right. It's always hard, though, because I wish we had... I mean, we just talked about how hard it is to watch Westworld and Luke Cage. And then now it's not that we don't want to watch Black Sails. All right, I'll try to fit in Black Sails. I'll do my best. Hey, Brian, if you aren't just supported by Cordkillers, we stopped doing the show. What else do you do?
Dude, I've only done one thing. I don't even do Cordkillers. I never did Cordkillers.
What's Cordkillers?
Anybody only knows me for one thing, and that's my show, The Modern Rogue, that I host with Jason Murphy. We went through some beta test episodes. We even got them to show them on TV. But now the real series is out. It's The Modern Rogue. And in fact, we just got our custom URL. If you go to youtube.com/modernrogue, you can sign up. So unbelievably stoked about how the series is going. Our latest episode is about ghosting, the practice of taking over a dead person's life and assuming their identity and continuing to live on. It's fantastic, man. Please spread the word. Tell all your friends. Let's see how fast we can get to 100,000 subscribers.
Go, subscribe, move on to the front lines. Last Sunday's U.S. presidential debate attracted 63 million TV viewers. That was down 20% from the first presidential debate. However, YouTube reported this past week that they showed 124 million views of live streams of the debate on the platform, a 40% rise in viewership for the U.S. presidential election. Facebook had 7.4 million views and 3.2 million used Twitter to watch. Partly, people were saying this was because it was Sunday night and people wanted to watch baseball, football, something else on the big screen, so they just had the presidential debate in a small screen.
I totally would believe that. What do you think that means in terms of overall viewership? I mean, does the spike outweigh the dip?
Yeah, the overall viewership of the debate went up, is what this article purports.
Amazing. Did you see the Saturday Night Live sketch about the debate?
I've seen both of them, yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which one are you talking about?
But the most recent one. Do
you mean the hit piece?
The hit piece? Wait, what? What hit piece? What are you talking about?
Lamestream media.
Oh, from the... All right. Hey, man, Twitter's going to partner with BuzzFeed for U.S. election night coverage on November 8th. The live stream will start at 6 p.m. Eastern. The two companies will work with volunteer data outfit Decision Desk HQ to make calls on election results. This is interesting because when you think of the major news networks or major, broadcast networks, they really ended up with a lot of egg on their face when they miscalled the election in 2000. And as a result, the following year or the following election cycle, CNN was super conservative about what they would and wouldn't call. Does Twitter's brand hang in the balance on whether or not they call the elections correctly with this kind of coverage? How worried do you think they are about this?
No, I think in some ways Twitter's brand is expected to call the election wrong, right? That's Twitter's brand, is we've got the crazy people saying crazy things.
Right.
So in some ways they're protected. But at the same time, yeah, I think the future direction of Twitter could hang in the balance of, yeah, that's what I expected. They got it wrong versus, maybe having them say like, no, man, Twitter was calling everything right. It was the broadcast networks that had to retract this or that because they were using this new Decision Desk HQ, which is more accurate. I could see it go either way.
To be honest, I think the truth is pretty much a hybrid of the two. Number one, there's nothing they can do that will lower their standing in credibility. Like they could literally set fire to the internet if such a thing was physically possible. And it wouldn't matter. But if they get it right, suddenly that becomes the whole Nate Silver 2.0 story.
Yeah. Facebook has added support for Apple's AirPlay and Google's Cast functions. When watching a video in your Facebook app, you tap the TV button in the top right, select the device you want to stream to, and you're on your way. You can even continue to browse Facebook while the video plays on your TV. Of course, that's the way Cast function works. Function is live in the iOS app and coming to Android soon. And if you're one of those people who doesn't like Facebook Live because you like YouTube or Periscope, they already had similar functions, so you get to thumb your nose, I guess.
Google Home? Google Home.
Google Home is the app that you use to cast and manage your cast. But you don't have to have Google Home to cast.
Because I bought a product called Google Home.
You can cast your Facebook Live audio to Google Home, but not the video.
And which app would I use for that?
You would use Facebook.
Google Home. Right on. Netflix may be winning the war on VPN as the CBC cites 3 VPN providers seem to be giving up fighting the company to unblock the service's region blocks. Thanks to John Jackson's for pointing out the article. This is one I would never have seen coming. I would have thought technologically it's just super trivial for VPNs to keep adding new addresses, but I guess at some point you can actually win playing the game of whack-a-mole.
I mean, we're only talking about 3 examples here, but it's 3 more than I would have expected. So I'll eat a little crow on this. I thought Netflix was going to, do the minimum they needed to do to show that they were trying to fight it. And it looks like they're playing to win. And they've got 3, fairly prominent VPNs, especially VPNs that build their brand on this sort of thing to say, you know what, we give up trying to fight the Netflix block. It's just blocked for our users now. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess that's just, I mean, if you have a dedicated IT team at Netflix, all you have to do is say, like, we're going to pay you a lot of money to do a very tedious thing. You're just going to keep blocking these, services as they pop up. It's going to be a giant and annoying, but it's going to be a war of attrition, and we're Netflix and they're not. And I'm pretty sure we can outspend them.
Well, and Gaucham points up the VPN thing becomes less important as the libraries improve. And that's certainly true in the international arena. Plus, it's really only important to Netflix's clients, the ones that they've signed deals with. Nobody else cares. It's only somebody who's like, hey, I'm charging Space Channel for the Expanse in Canada, so you need to block Canadians from watching the Expanse from the German Netflix, because that's not cool.
You know, I wonder if the real reason to do all this is almost as a marketing investment, where it's like you can go to content owners and say, look how happy we've made everybody by playing by their rules. These guys were concerned about having exclusivity in this region. We shut down.
It certainly doesn't hurt. Yeah, absolutely. Finally, CBS All Access has launched on the PlayStation 4. It's the normal $6 a month or $10 a month without commercials. So just another note there that the PlayStation 4 has pretty much become a complete streaming alternative here in the United States.
Is it premature to say, like, and I again, this is coming from somebody who has not actually even done it myself, but everything I'm hearing has indicated that if you ask me on the street, hey, I just want to get as close to cable television as I can get from a granddad, what should I do? I think the PS View is the way to go, right?
PS View is probably the way to go in the United States, especially in markets where you get local channels. That's the problem with PS View, is you don't always get the local channels. That's also a problem for Sling TV, though. So it's not like that's a big deal. And then, if you don't care about mobile, for instance, I wanted to watch the baseball game while I was waiting for the airplane yesterday. Couldn't see it on PS View. FS1 not available while you're roaming outside of your house. So I went to Sling TV and I could watch it just fine. So I'd say PS View definitely has the edge. But you don't need a PlayStation. I would recommend just getting a Roku and signing up for PlayStation View or maybe a Fire TV.
By the way, Bryce points out that you are correct, Bryce. The controllers have crap battery life.
The PS3 controllers lasted a really long time, and the PS4 ones don't last as long.
Yeah, I had one die on me too. I had to get a replacement. Let's get to the dispatches from the front. We got an email from Amar who said, I was listening to Chris Plant talk on his podcast about making it through the whole Hurricane Matthew thing. And he had a friend who was in the hurricane who said the storm had just blown over. Thankfully, there was minimal damage to his home. But what Amar found interesting was that he didn't lose telephone, he didn't lose internet, he didn't lose electricity, he lost cable. If he wanted to watch cable shows, he needed to find an alternative and likely visit different sites in order to view each individual cable channel, and probably couldn't watch cable on his TV.
I assume that's because fiber optic networks tend to be buried underground, whereas coax was probably installed 30, 40 years ago and is on
I wouldn't assume that. I would assume it's because the cable company just happened to have one of their poles that got blown down and the others didn't.
So you think it's totally just, this is all just anecdotal, don't trust it?
Well, no, I don't think it's not anecdotal. I think it's just, I don't think it's endemic to the different industries. I do think it's interesting that your internet didn't go out, but your cable did, because that can happen, right? You know, the cable's node was over on one side of the county where the winds kicked up and the internet wasn't.
Yeah. Got an email that says from Brian, would love to hear your comments on Comcast's data cap of 1 terabyte. I'd like to drop my Dish network for PlayStation View, but I'm worried I'd burn through my data. Any real world experience out there that can help? I believe, I've got gigabit fiber from AT&T, and I'm almost certain I read that there was a 1 terabyte cap at the beginning. But then the nature of the cap with AT&T was if you go over the cap, then we charge you $10, $10 per, I forget however much, we'll say 100 gigabytes or whatever, with a max of 3 upcharges. So basically, in my mind, the moment they said this, I heard, I'm paying $100 a month for 1 terabyte and then overages on top of that. All I heard in my mind was, I have unlimited. It costs $130 a month. And my guess is it's a similar thing for you.
Well, and I think what our person here is saying is, I don't want to pay a lot, because what Comcast is doing is, like you say, if you go over, you can pay per gigabyte, or you can pay for unlimited, but you have to pay, I think it's like $40, might be more per month extra to get unlimited. So if that doesn't bother you, if you've got other reasons to go unlimited, you can just go unlimited and not worry about it. If you're trying to save money, though, then it becomes a question of, can I do it without going over? And it really, there's no answer. You need to look at your existing usage and then figure in like, okay, let me put in a bunch of video usage, and I don't know how much you watch TV. If you watch a couple of shows a night, you'll probably be fine. If you're watching like 6-7 hours a day, then you might start to be pushing towards that cap. It's just really hard to say.
And also understand the reason they set the caps is because they do it based on an expectation of average user data. So if you're on the fence, I say decide this is an experiment. Get out there, do whatever you want, do whatever you would normally do, and find out. Maybe you're an outlier who uses way more data than you think. At the worst is now you know that, but at the best, you are shaping their policy in the future. Like they're going to look at your data.
Here's the other thing is Comcast gives you 2 grace periods where you go over the cap and they just alert you, but they don't charge you. So that's perfect for your experiment. You can do it for 3 months and be like pretty certain you won't get charged those first 2 months, even if you go over. And then if you've canceled Dish and you find out, no, this just uses way too much data, it's not going to make sense, I want to save money, you go back to Dish and get like the new subscriber discount.
Yeah. Dude, in fact, I'm sure they'll offer you a super sweet deal to lure you back from the evil talons of being cord free.
Tom wrote in and said, hey, guys, I wanted to address the email Bob sent in last week regarding hockey on PlayStation View. As a cord cutter and huge St. Louis Blues fan, go Blues. This was something that was very important when I considered dropping cable. He's able to watch the Blues games when he is away from home because the regional sports network allows that. But he's like, yeah, I know that might not be the case for the Flyers. PlayStation View does allow you to log into the NBC Sports app, so that may be an option for watching some of your Flyers games. Another thing to consider is 60 frames per second streaming, which is very important for hockey. Chromecast is capable of doing 60 frames per second for PS View, but depending on which generation Fire Stick Bob has, it may not be able to handle it. I personally use both a Fire TV and a Roku 2 for PlayStation View at home and an iPad for mobile, and all of them work great for hockey. Thank you, Tom, for all that info. That was awesome.
We also got a follow-up email from with video from David Pick, who asked if he got chumped when he got lured into the dual package from Comcast. Let's take a look what he's got.
That's a cord killer. And I identify myself as a cord killer, even though I'm currently a cable subscriber. I'm trying to respond to what Tom Merritt was talking about as of last week's episode, number 140. Why did I resubscribe to Charter Cable? That's a legit question. Did I get taken for a ride? Yeah. Yes, I did.
So David is logging his experience on his YouTube channel. He has 2 versions up. The one you're seeing there, another where he has a longer discussion of this, where he literally cuts a coax cable for you. So we will have those links in the show notes for you. Best of luck, Dave, with the experiment. Well, that is it for this edition of Cord Killers. Don't forget, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Brian, we're done.
Yeah, no, we're not done. It's just the beginning, because next up, movie draft. Go to draft.diamondclub.tv. Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cord Killers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.